So I want to talk about a Canadian citizen that has been living in the United States since 2005. And he was living in the United States on a green card. And he was picked up by ICE and detained for 65 days, all due to taxes. Being detained and arrested is still happening, even though it's not in the news. Because everything right now is focused on the Strait of Hormuz and the orange guy's health and even those Lego videos that the Iranian government is making. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead to YouTube and just search for Iran Lego video. They're actually doing a pretty good job trolling the orange guy. But in this video, I'm going to talk about this Canadian's experience being detained for 65 days and his family still in the United States. I also found another article that was released on Wednesday, and it's titled Psychological Torture Outcry Over Conditions at ICE Desert Detention Camps. It'll definitely give us a bit of insight what it's like to be detained and what this Canadian might have went through. So let's get started on the first report.
Douglas Dixon and his family moved to Florida in 2005. They have lived there for more than 2 decades. He has a green card. And what he did was recently he purchased a company in 2013, a smoothie shop. And that smoothie shop ran into financial difficulties during the COVID pandemic. And he fell behind in taxes. And that's why he was picked up by ICE.
Now, I want to remind everybody, just because it's not in the news doesn't mean it's not happening anymore. And one of the things the reporter did say that he fell behind in taxes. But what kind of concerned me is that he was actually trying to fix the problem. And that's where ICE detained him. So no matter how big or small something might be on your record, even if it's like a late payment, don't be surprised if ICE comes knocking on your door.
In February, and I want to talk to you, Douglas Dixon.
Yes.
Welcome back to Canada.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Tell
I
me,
miss my family, but I'm great to be back.
you missed your family. I want to go from there. You haven't seen them in 65 days.
That's exactly right. 65 days, yeah. I woke up to go to the probation meeting, and I haven't seen my wife since that time. February 10th.
You were going to the probation meeting because you were checking in. You were paying back the taxes.
Exactly.
And
So he was going in to pay the taxes. I don't know what kind of arrangement he has and whatever else, but he's making the effort to actually pay it back. Now, in the past, before the United States decided to hop up on crystal meth, situations like this might have had a little bit of leeway, and they probably did in the past. But now, everything is by the book when it comes to the United States, no matter how big or small. But during the Orange Guy's original election campaign, he vowed to lock up all the criminals, the dangerous people, and the gang members. I actually really wonder how many of those people are actually locked up right now, versus everyday citizens that are actually contributing to the United States economy.
what happened at that office?
At that office, I walked in for my meeting. My probation officer was usually late. This time he came out early and said, come on in. Before that happened, he requested me to come in a week early because my appointment was for the 17th. So then he asked me to come in. I said, okay. I found it weird that he was, calling me in early because he's usually a little late. And as I went in, I went to turn in his office, and the lady behind me said, no, keep going. We're taking you for a drug test. So I told the lady, I said, well, fine. I said, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I said, you can test me for whatever you want. I don't have any medication.
There was no drug test. Instead, who was there?
Instead, as I walked past his office and got down maybe about 20, 30 steps and turned the corner where I thought the drug test office was, it was ICE. There were about 7 officers. I was grabbed, thrown up against the wall, said, you're being detained.
Now, I don't think anybody watching this video, including myself, are surprised that this happened. I mean, there's been hundreds of different reports over the past 14 months saying similar things. And it's much easier for ICE to pick up people when they're going to be scheduled for like a meeting or a hearing or something like that. I mean, how many times have we heard that people got detained at their immigration meeting? I mean, it's definitely an easy way for ICE to meet their quota. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, basically.
And then they just started frisking me, emptying my pockets, taking my belt, telling me to shut off my phone. I'm shaking like a leaf because I wasn't expecting this.
You were handcuffed and shackled.
Yes.
And taken to Alligator Alcatraz.
Yes.
Can you give our viewers a sense of what it's like? You described it as a cage.
Right. Well, it is a cage. It's a steel cage, probably 40 by 20 or 30 by about 10 feet high. So when you stand on the top bunk, you can't grab the top grates or whatever that's made of.
Now, one of the things I have to consider too is what we've heard in the past when it comes to the conditions. Because this clip I'm about to show you, it's a very short one. It always comes to my mind whenever I think about the ICE detention centers.
I worked as a journalist in Egypt and I was persecuted and detained and tortured. My experience at the Butler County Jail was more traumatizing than my detention in Egypt.
Now, I haven't experienced it, I don't think a lot of us have, but that's a pretty bold statement to make. Saying that being in an ICE detention center is far worse than being tortured in Egypt. And that's not an isolated statement. I mean, all the reports that we hear, they are along the similar lines. But we always hear the US saying, "Ooh, China is bad," or "Communist is bad," or "Russia's bad," or "Middle East is bad." Sure, every country's got their problems, but is the United States any better? And what bothers me is that all of this is going on in the detainment centers. A good majority of their citizens really don't care, or don't even know what's going on. They're just going on about their day, and turning a blind eye to what's going on right now.
Now, inside those units, they very rarely dusted. The blanket fur is like everywhere because they give you a really cheap blanket. People's, regular stuff that they try and sneak in from lunch or whatever gets on the floor, and they don't clean. And then the bathrooms are out in plain view. Anybody on a second bunk can look into the bathroom, basically, because the boards are only about this high.
How many people inside one pod?
There's 32 people, because there's 30. It's double bunks, 16 of them, and there's 2 per bunk.
When were you given the ability to shower?
Once every 3 days when I arrived there.
So as you can see, the conditions are not good, and I'm sure it's far worse than what he's actually describing. And I'm not fear-mongering either. There's more than sufficient evidence online from other people who have been detained on what the conditions are.
Donald Trump has said that Alligator Alcatraz will house the most vicious people. Is that what you experienced?
That's not what I experienced whatsoever. Actually, I met people who are general, normal, good, hardworking people that have been picked up and detained for whatever it is, a paperwork issue. Maybe they're in the middle of getting their paperwork done, but it's not completed yet. There's all kinds of reasons.
So as I said in the beginning of the video, I really do wonder how many of these quote-unquote vicious people have actually been picked up. This isn't what he promised during his election campaign. He's not picking out the vicious people, he's picking out the people that have paperwork issues. So to any Canadian or any international people that are living in the United States that are on like a green card or a TN visa or whatever other kind of visa, you better make sure that your documents are all in order and not even late by 1 second.
You haven't seen your family for 65 days. Is there anything you want to say to your wife and daughter there? You have been banned from the U.S. for life.
That's what they've told me so far, yeah. So I would love to say to my wife and my children that Dad loves you and thanks for the help. Thanks for supporting me on this journey.
Thank you, Doug. Douglas Dixon will be making his way back to Montreal. That is his hometown. He has not lived there in 21 years.
Now, I do feel for the guy. I mean, he's been living there since 2005. Everything's been normal up until like 2024. But everyone needs to realize that everything has changed since 2025. What we were used to before that, what rules might have been a little bit more lenient, that's all out the window now. And even having a Nexus card doesn't make you immune or make the process any easier anymore. These types of reports on detainment is not going to stop. But my guess is that we're going to hear less and less of them when it comes to border crossings, and more of them when it comes to foreign nationals already living in the United States, kind of like this guy. But the best way to avoid this whole thing is just stay away from the United States. Now I want to move on to this article from The Guardian, and it's titled, Psychological Torture, Outcry Over Conditions at ICE Desert Detention Camp. Now, I just want to go over a few paragraphs on this. I mean, this is a really long article, but if you want to read the whole thing, the link will be in the description below. But I do want to read over one part, which goes over this person named D's story. Let me read it out to everyone. When D was in custody at Camp East Montana last fall, he was constantly uncomfortable in his 75-person section pod within the giant tents. He got sick himself and witnessed people being refused medical care, he said. He lost 25 pounds and he came back with his really strong cough, said T, D's wife, who is a US citizen. D received his green card in October, but said he was kept in detention for an additional 5 days. When he returned to the Midwest with T, he recalled his cough lasted about 6 weeks. It should have never happened, T said, but he was still there for 1 month under circumstances that nobody deserves. Confined together indoors, detainees have caught serious illnesses, including tuberculosis, COVID, measles, according to various reports. 3 detainees at the camp have died. Out of at least 26 deaths in ICE custody so far this fiscal year, or 46 since the orange guy returned, and hugely expanded detention and immigration agenda. Now, of course, Homeland Security is denying all of this is happening, and that medical attention is being given to the detainees. But do we believe them? I sure as hell don't. I don't believe anything that this US administration says. I mean, what kind of crazy times do we live in that we actually believe the Iranian government over the US government? I mean, whenever the US government says, yeah, we're winning the war or we're talking with the Iranian government, I'll wait for the Iranian government's statement first. Back to the article. Imelda Maynard, legal director of Estrella de Paso, an immigration legal service organization, said the part of the camp that she was visiting with her job, she noticed gaping holes in the tent. That would lower protection from local conditions exacerbated by the climate crisis, including dangerous heat and dust storms that whip up particulate matter, a health hazard that can cause inflammation and exacerbate respiratory issues. And of course, DHS in the article denies all of this. Now, the reason why I wanted to show you these parts in the article is to show the conditions that anybody that's being detained has to go through. The Canadian at the beginning of this video probably had some sort of similar situations as this. Now, while many of you watching this video right now will probably never be put in this situation because we're not going to the US, my focus right now on this whole situation really isn't the people getting detained, because those are going to continue to happen. But I want to focus on the US citizens right now, because I know a small group of them, and those who are watching my channel right now probably think this is really disgusting, and rightfully so. But I do have to emphasize that it is a small group. Then you have the group of MAGAs who actually encourage all of this, and say that everyone that is detained deserves it. Which is ironic because there's so many different stories of MAGA voters having their spouses detained, and yet they still support the orange guy. I really don't get it. Then you have the last group, which is the apathetic group about everything that's going on right now. Doesn't matter if it's about the Middle East, doesn't matter if it's about the border issues, doesn't matter about the tariffs, and doesn't matter about the people getting detained. While these people are out watching football or watching baseball or taking their family to Disneyland or just going about their day, while people are being detained and their government is causing chaos in the world, they don't care because it's not bothering them. They're the ones that are saying, oh, I don't know what's going on, or I don't talk about politics, or I don't like being involved in this kind of stuff. I just want to go about my day. I'm only one guy with a loud cat right now, just speaking on YouTube, and this is what I feel. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people also feel the same way as well. The more and more we see this, the less and less sympathy we have for the United States, because you guys are digging yourself into a hole. Now, this might be a good time for me to say my disclaimer that I'm not generalizing all US citizens. I know a majority of US citizens that are watching my channel right now understand, but there's a few of them out there who don't like their country being insulted. But I think I speak for a lot of people, and let me know in the comments if I speak for you on this. The apathy in the United States needs to change, and it has to be more than the size of a quarterly No Kings protest. The world is observing every day, every hour on what's going on, and every day and every hour, our thoughts and feelings when it comes to the United States is just getting lower and lower and lower. To close off this video, I would like to thank my mom for sending this photo from Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. And this photo was taken last year during their trip to Eastern Canada in September. And it's kind of good timing that I use this, because I do feel there is a lot of love in the world right now. I actually noticed that in my last video. When I did commentary on that article from Australia, I didn't actually realize I had that many Australian viewers. So shout out to you guys. And I am looking forward to my trip to Australia in Q4. And I want to thank every Australian that gave me ideas on what to do in Gold Coast as well as Brisbane. I'll be honest, I'm not too sure if I'm going to have time to visit all the suggestions. I'm actually leaving the entire planning up to my friends. But back to the love thing. I actually feel the love when it comes to everyone that's on my channel. Whether you're from Australia, Sweden, Belgium, Netherlands, the UK, Norway, and even in Asia, Southeast Asia, back home in Canada, South America, and even Africa. All I'm trying to say is that there's support and love from everywhere. And to be honest, I've never felt the world more aligned when it comes to one thing: disconnecting from the United States. So again, I'd like to thank my mom for sending me over this photo. And I would also like to thank the community for their concern and well wishes for my mom when I mentioned that she was coming out of surgery. She's okay now, so I mean, the road to recovery is there, but it is sincerely appreciated. Alright, that's all I got for this video. If you found any value in anything I said today, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international perspective, without the US media bias, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. That way you're notified of my future videos. And if you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that are going to show up on your screen shortly. Thanks everyone. I'll catch you in the next one.